Okay, welcome. This is a short video on how to write a paper in APA style using Microsoft Word. A couple things to keep in mind before I get started. Um, One of the things is if you ever have an instructor who asks you for a hard copy of a paper, a hard copy is just a printed copy, and APA has three things to keep in mind when you have to submit a hard copy, a printed copy of your paper. APA requires that the paper size be 8.5 by 11 inches. That's the standard paper size that you get out of your standard printer. Secondly, the paper you choose, it must be plain white paper. Do not use color paper or use a designer paper. APA says that's not acceptable. Third, when you do print out on one side of the page. Do not do front and back. Okay? All right, so let's get started. I've opened up Microsoft Word and I've opened it up to a blank document because I'm going to be creating my paper from a blank document. And before I start typing, I want to check a few settings up. First, I want to check the margins. The margins are the area on the top, bottom, left, and right you normally don't see writing. So let me click on Layout and let me click on Margins. Now, APA wants the margins to be 1 inch, and you'll notice they are all 1 inch margins, which is great. Well, if that's the standard, why am I showing you this? Well, I'll be honest with you. I have over 50 computers in my library, and I have students who love to play around with settings. If you're using a friend's computer, somebody else's computer, you always double check the margins before you get started, okay? Let me go back and click the Home tab. Next, I want to work on spacing. The spacing is, yes, line spacing, but it's also the spacing between paragraphs. APA doesn't want to see any extra spacing between paragraphs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to this paragraph group and I'm going to click this button here. It's referred to as the launcher. So let me click on my launcher and I'll go down to the spacing section. Notice spacing before is set to 0 point. Spacing after is set to 8 point. I'm going to change that to 0 point. And while I'm here, I'm going to change my line spacing from multiple to double, and I'll click OK. All right. Next, I'm going to work on my font and my font size. My font should be Times New Roman, so up in the font group, I'll change that to Times New Roman, and the font size should be 12. Okay. All right. I'm now going to work on my first page of my document, and the first page is my cover page. A cover page is required for APA. And at the top of each page of your document, Microsoft refers to this as the header. In the header for student papers, APA wants to see a page number on the right-hand side. So all you do is you click Insert, Page Number, choose Top of Page, and then choose Plain Number 3. Plain Number 3 puts a page number on the right-hand side, so you click on it. And now I can click the red Close Header and Footer button. And there you go. All right. Now, did you ever notice there in Microsoft Word, there's a horizontal and a vertical ruler? If ever you are not seeing your ruler, just click View and put a check mark here where it says Ruler, okay? Well, I need to see my ruler because here's my insertion point and here's my 1 inch mark. I need to bring my insertion point below the 1 inch mark on my vertical ruler. So I'm going to press the Enter key about 3 times. And this is where you're going to type in the title of your paper. Okay, so let me type in my title. Da, 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 da. The effects of alcohol on student success. Once you type in the title, a couple things to keep in mind about the title. You capitalize the first word of your title, the last word of your title, and all of your primary or principal words. These are usually words that are more than 3 characters in length. So you'll notice effects, alcohol, and student are capitalized, but of and on are not. Okay? Next, your title. It should be centered on that line. So all you have to do is from the Home tab in the paragraph group, click this Center Align button, and it will automatically center your title in the center of that line. Third, your title should be in bold. So click the B for bold button, and there you go. After that, you're going to press the Enter key 2 times, and then you type in your name. Okay. After that, you press the Enter key, and this is where you're going to type in the name of your college department or division name. After that, there's a comma and a space, and you type in the name of the college or university you're attending. Now, do not type in the abbreviation. You have to type in the full name. Okay. After that, you press the Enter key, and this is where you type in the course number. Now, some instructors are going to ask that after you type in the course number, put a little dash there and type in the CRN number. Okay, whatever the CRN number is, just type it in. After that, you type in a colon and a space, and you type in the name of the class. In my case, it's advanced psychology. You then press the Enter key. And after that, you type in your instructor's name. Boom, boom, boom. After that, you press the Enter key and you type in the date. Now, the date you type in is not the date you're typing up your paper. It's always the date you turn it in. So let's say my due date is October 31, 2024. There you go. And that is the cover page. Okay. So I finished my cover page, and I do recommend at this time that students, after you type up your cover page, save your work to your flash drive, because you never know when a computer is going to freeze up on you or there's going to be other issues. Save your work to your flash drive, and you'll be good to go. All right, I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to work under the assumption that you guys all know how to save to a flash drive. All right, after typing up your cover page, you're going to press the Enter key till you're at the top of the next page. And this is where you're going to type up your title one more time. Then press the Enter key, change your alignment to the left, and you start typing your paper. And away you go. You're actually in the body of your paper. This is where you're going to create those wonderful paragraphs and so forth and so on. And as you're doing that, you're incorporating information that you found in your research. You were using book sources, ebooks, articles from journals, magazines, newspapers. Now, as you're incorporating that information into your document, you have to include what is called an in-text citation, which helps the reader identify where you got all this information from. And let me show you what is involved in that. Just a minute. Let me pull up a document. And here we go. And I want to make sure you guys can see that in text. Great. Okay, this is a handout on, sorry about that. This is a handout on in-text citations. So as you're incorporating information into your document, you have to include in-text citations in terms of where you got this information from. If you take the information that you get word for word from a source and you put it in your paper, It must be surrounded by quotation marks, okay? Then, after the quotation marks, in a set of parentheses, you put the author's last name, year of publication, and page number. So for a direct quote, take a look at my example. The research proved a surprising number of students felt that they didn't have a drinking problem. Direct quote, see the quotation marks here? So the student took it word for word from a source and put it in the paper. Then in a set of parentheses, the author was Smith. It was published in 2021, page 186. Oftentimes you're reading through some information, you understand what the author's trying to say. You put the author's ideas in your words in your paper. This is paraphrasing, and paraphrasing is perfectly fine as long as you include an in-text citation. So take a look at my example. Every dollar spent using credit and debit cards means increased debt down the road. Student's own words, but the student got the information from a source. The author was Jenkins, 2019, page 211. What if you have a source and the source does not have page numbers? In this case, you count the paragraphs and you use the abbreviation para period and give a paragraph number to what paragraph you found the information on. Look at my example. With the latest technology, battery efficiency will increase 58% by 2030. Direct quote, you see the quotation marks. The author is Johnson, 2020, paragraph 8. What if you have a source and it doesn't have an author? We'll cite the first few words of the title in quotes, followed by the year of publication and page number. Look at the example. Recent studies have shown an increase in the price of gasoline corresponds to a decrease in demand. Direct quote, you see the quotation marks. There is no author listed, so the first few words of the title, flexible fuel cars, in quotes, 2018, and page 210. Oftentimes, students are getting information from companies, organizations, government agencies. If that's the case, list the company's name in the in-text citation. Look at the example. In direct quote, the Family and Medical Leave Act provides up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave for certain medical and family situations. In the in-text citation, U.S. Department of Labor, 2019, page 9. If your source has two authors, list both authors' last names with an ampersand symbol between them. And there it is, Farnsworth and Bacon, 2017, page 38. If your source has three or more authors, list the first author that's given, followed by the Latin ET space AL period. ET space AL period is Latin for and others, followed by the year of publication and page number. Look at my example. Experts predict by 2025, the average motorist will spend 20% of their income on transportation. Direct quote, Montgomery et al., 2019, page 158. Let me skip the next one. A direct quote with no date. If you have a source and it doesn't have a date, use the abbreviation N period D period for no date. One thing I'm going to emphasize to students is if you're taking a class in science and technology, most instructors are going to ask that the information that you use in your research is recent sources, okay? What I tell students is this: if you're not 100% confident that the source you're using is a recent source, so such that they don't have a date for the publication, then I would look for a different source, okay? But if you're really, really confident it's a recent source, but for whatever reason it doesn't have a date, use the abbreviation N period D period for no date, okay? Now, let me show you what an actual student's paper looks like, and I'm going to share it with you. And here you go. This is a paper on Tanzania. There we go. And there's the cover page. It looks pretty good. I'm now on the second page. Notice there's the title at the top and everything is great. Take a look here. It says in direct quote, see the quotation marks? The biggest winner in any development project are often the local and national bureaucracy. One might wonder if Tanzania would be better off with more privately controlled development projects or simply letting the market grow the economy. So it's a direct quote. You see the quotation marks. Who was the author? Budzinski. Came out 2016, page 186. So that's one in-text citation. How about this one? Now, there's no quotation marks around it, but so that's the student's own words. But with the in-text citation, he's identifying to the reader that this is some information. This is the source of my information. Residing in the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, tribe members constantly seek new grazing area for the cattle. Now, in this one, there was no author given, so the first few words of the title was Country Insight. Came out in 2018, paragraph 5. So that is what these in-text citations are all about, okay? Let me go back to my paper I was working on. And just give me a second. And Zoom, sharing, document 3. There we go. Okay, so here's my document, and I started typing up my paper, and I'm going to do a little bit more typing. Type. So I'm in the body of my paper, and let's say I finished the body of my paper somewhere here on page 5. What am I going to do? Well, after you're finished with the body of your document, you press the Enter key till you're at the top of the next page. You center at your insertion point and you type in the word references and you make it bold. This is where you're going to type in the full citation for each reference you used in your paper. Now this brings me to another handout I'm going to show you. By the way, I'm going to show you where you can pick up a copy of this handout at the end, both handouts at the end. So let me share this with you. Okay, so the references page is where you give the full citation for each source you used in your paper. You include information like the author, the year of publication, the title, the publisher, the full citation for each source you used in your paper. Now, for a book source, it's the author's last name, comma, first name, initial. In a references page, there are no first names. It's always first name, initial, followed by the year of publication, in italics, the title of the book, and the publisher. For one author, look at the example, Goldsworthy, comma, A, 2010, How Rome Fell, Death of a Superpower, Yale University Press. So Goldsworthy, comma, A, that's the author's last name, comma, first name, initial. 2010 was the year of publication. The title in italics, How Rome Fell, Death of a Superpower, and the publisher, Yale University Press. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when you're doing the title in your references page, you capitalize the first word of a title, the first word of a subtitle, and all proper nouns. These are people, places, and things. So you notice the H in how is capitalized, the first word of a title. The D in death is capitalized, the first word of a subtitle. And Rome is the place, so that had to be capitalized. Other than that, they're all lowercase. That's in the references page. All right. If you have a book source with 2 to 20 authors, APA wants you to list them all. Okay. Last name, comma, first name, initial, comma, last name, comma, first name, initial, comma, last name, comma, first name, initial, comma. Before the last author that you have to give, put that ampersand symbol. Okay. Then it's the year, the title, and the publisher. Okay. If your book was compiled by an editor, after the person's name, in parentheses, ed period for editor. In my example, I had 2 editors, so it's eds period. A book with a DOI. Well, what is a DOI? A DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. All a digital object identifier is, it's just a link to the content online. That's all it is. So if you have a book source and it includes a DOI, you place it at the end of your citation. That's all. All right. What about open textbooks? If you're using an open textbooks as a source, include their web link at the end. The same is true for an ebook from a non-library database. Just place the hyperlink at the end. Now, keep in mind, when you're placing either a hyperlink or a DOI at the end of a source citation, do not place a period after it. Why? Because you can screw up the citation, you can screw up the hyperlink, the DOI. Do not put a period after the hyperlink or DOI, okay? Let me go down to online databases. Now, the basic format is author's last name, comma, first name, initial, then the date of publication, the title of the article, in italics, the title of the journal, the volume number, issue number, and pages. After that, if it includes a DOI, place it after it. If there's no DOI, don't worry about it. And there's examples for a journal article with a DOI and a journal article without a DOI. There's an example for a magazine article, newspaper article, and more. Let me go to the second page of my handout, and I'm going to go down to the web page section. I get students ask me about web pages all the time. How do I create an APA citation for this web page? Well, you have to identify who's the author. List the author's last name, comma, first name, initial. If there's no author listed, is there a company, institution, or company responsible for that web page? List them, then the date, the title of the article, and the web address. And I give you a great example right here. I also give you example for encyclopedia articles, movies, TED Talks, YouTube videos, a lot of great examples here for this handout. And again, I'm going to show you where you can pick up a copy of both of these handouts in just a few minutes. Now, give me a second. I'm going to go back to my paper. So just give me a second. And I want to pop that here. That's references. And here we go. So I'm in my references page, and I'm going to type up my references. And here you go. I've typed up all my references. Great. And everything is looking good, right? Couple things to keep in mind. After you type in your references, if your reference takes up just one line, you leave it alone. If your reference takes up more than one line, any subsequent lines have to be indented by 1/2 inch. That's called a hanging indent. Well, how do I create hanging indents? It's really quite simple. First, you select all the lines below your references. Up in the paragraph group, click on the launcher button. And then in the indentation section here, look for the special box, choose hanging, and click OK. And there you go. Why does APA want to see hanging indents? Well, look what sticks out in your citations. The author's last names, right? What's in those in-text citations? Author's last names. So as your reader's reading through your paper and they come across this great quote by a guy named Budzinski, all he or she has to do is go to the last page, the references page, to see the full citation of where you got this information from. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about in terms of references is this: your references page. Your references must be in alphabetical order. I've got F for falling, B for Budzinski, T for Tanzania, C for country. This is not in alphabetical order. So all you do, select your text. In the paragraph group, click that A to Z button, and then click OK. And now your references are in alphabetical order: B, C, F, T. Okay? All right, give me a minute. I've got to log into Canvas, and I've got something to show you. Just a sec. Okay, I've just logged into Canvas, and what I wanted to show you is on the left-hand side, you have these global navigation buttons. There's one here labeled Library. Let me go ahead and click on it. Here is a built-in libraries page in Canvas. What I want you to look for is the link or the button for APA Guide. Let me click on it here. It brings you to my APA Guide for APA papers. It's my library guide. It's called a LibGuide for APA papers. What I wanted to show you is this tab right here. It says APA templates and handouts. Let me click on it. If you want to get a copy of my in-text citations handout, it's this one. It's this link right here. If you want to get a copy of my handout on citations for the references page, it's right here. If you want to see what a sample paper in APA style looks like, I have my sample APA paper right here. Okay, so check it out when you get a chance. My APA LibGuide. Just log into Canvas, click the library button, and look for the APA button. Okay, thank you all.